Good evening, Texas bikers and bikers all across the nation. This is Texas Biker Radio, number 357. My name is Mel Popeye Moss. My co-host, Mel OG Robbins. We are with Sons of Liberty Riders MC, who brings you this show each and every week, along with a little bit of help from our friends. And good evening, OG. How are you doing?
Well, doing good, staying cool, staying in the house.
You know what, Mel?
I got to tell you, that ride to the United Clubs meeting over at the Rail Club in Fort Worth.
Yeah.
I mean, it was not bad going to the meeting, but coming out, holy crap! It was my air gauge on my Harley told me it was 105.
You know, Mel, it must have had affected everybody all weekend. Because this morning I sent out feelers to all the entities, the people we know, and hey, what was it like this weekend? Was there any profilings? Was there anything going on this weekend? And from what the feedback we got, there wasn't much that went on in the way of profiling or anyone being taken to jail. Now, if that's not the case where you may live, contact us and tell us what happened, because we would like to know if anything went down. But Mel, maybe the heat was part of it, part of the reason it was so quiet. They can always cage it, regardless. Nobody's gonna say a thing about it, because it's brutal. It's brutal out there. Not as brutal as our chapter in Arizona gets, but it's brutal. And
oh yeah, you hear those guys start talking about the temperatures out there, and you kind of feel ashamed.
Yeah, yeah. When they're talking 18, 120, and we're talking about 100 or 104, you kind of, well, okay, it's not that bad, but then again, it is. And a lot of that depends on your age, Mel.
That's true too.
As you get older, it gets tougher to handle. And but hey, I don't know if you heard the promo or not, but I was out in West Texas this weekend, and man, the cotton was looking good. The windmills were ginning. I don't know if they're hooked up to anything, but they were definitely spinning, and the oil wells were pumping. So everything. The news media is trying to play down the economy right now. They're trying to act like we're going into recession, trying to get at Donald Trump, and I don't think that's going to work. At least everybody better hope they're not able to talk the economy down, because your job may depend on it. And the last thing we need is a politician trying to increase the chances of a recession coming on, which the economy is strong right now. It's the strongest in the world, Mel. It's the strongest in the world. So that's where we're at. But that being said, Mel, let's talk about Dallas County for a minute, or the city of Dallas for a minute. As you know, and the people around the country may not know, our police chief in Dallas that they brought in from Detroit, and that should have been a red flag within itself. This police chief they brought in from Detroit has all of a sudden disappeared. They said for health reasons, and nobody knows where in the hell she is at. But not to fear, Mel. Before she left, she started a task force on crime. Yes, she did. But now she's been missing for over 6 weeks. Nobody knows where she's at, including the mayor. But don't fear, because the mayor has now started a task force on crime. While crime has gone up like 18%, murders are out of control. You got a 9-year-old girl that was shot by, I guess, a teenage rapper that had never sold an album, a song, or anything. We've got all this stuff going on, but don't worry about it. Don't worry about it, Mel, because the gang unit is out there stopping motorcyclists. Hey, you didn't do a turn signal. You might have stopped on the white line. You've committed a terrible crime. You're wearing a patch.
Well, maybe they'd rather stop motorcycles because they know they're not stopping any bad characters and nothing bad is going to happen.
Exactly. Mel, every time one of these tragedies happen, either in our state or around the country, you see all the talking heads that get up there in front of the media and they start talking about more. We don't have enough officers. We don't have enough equipment. We don't have this. We don't have that. Well, by God, maybe it's just because they're looking in the wrong places. And a few motorcyclists running down the road ain't it. It ain't it. Let me tell you, the Dallas and Dallas County, and I'm going to say county because we have all these cities included with it, Garland, Lake Dallas. How about Ellis County? The list runs on and on. And, well, let's include Fort Worth. And what's going on there? The same thing. Bikers being arrested. Bikers being profiled. People being put into a gang database that don't belong there because of what they're wearing, because of who they're riding with, because what event they may have went to. Think about it. Look at what's happening out across these cities, across this state, across this nation. All the problems that are going on in this country are not because of bikers. And we have in our constitutional rights, the supreme law of the land, the Constitution, we're having our rights violated again and again and again. The Fort Worth gang unit has it going on, Mel. And then we've got...
Well...
Go ahead.
They've all got it on. It's almost like, we were talking Sunday. Waco was probably one of the most embarrassing things to the state of Texas to happen, and law enforcement, because law enforcement and the justice system was a laughing stock around the country over that situation. And now that the dust is cleared, it's almost like they're seeking revenge. Mm-hmm. Anyhow they can get it, they want revenge. So they're taking a couple of statutes out of the Texas Criminal Code book and, just taking it to the max on anybody on two wheels.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's like there's no checks and balances for law enforcement and justice anymore. No checks and balances. They pretty much do what the hell they want because the judges go right along with it. The whole system is like a crate of rotten apples.
Mm-hmm.
the big deal this morning on Chris Croc's show. They were talking about CPS, Child Protective Services, and the lives that have been ruined just through that agency because there is no oversight. None of these agencies have any oversight. So now they're running rampant on bikers, and to fight them costs you a bloody fortune.
Yeah.
But you know what? We got to step up and do it because you can't let them get by with it.
Exactly. And Mel, that was the Chris Alzado show. They were talking about that. I heard,
I'm sorry. Yeah. What did I say? Chris Croc?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I'll talk about him in a minute. But Chris Alzado, I mean, they were talking about the Child Protective Services and the collusion between the government agency, the Child Protective Services, and the judges. And Mel, that's what we discovered in Waco was the collusion between the prosecutors, between the police department, and the judges. Not only the judges in the county courthouse, but the justice of the peace in that arena. It was incredible what we saw going on, and we had to call them out on it before it stopped. And that was with Judge Struthers, who was willing to give the prosecution anything they wanted. The collusion that exists within the system. And I can tell you, I saw it in Milam County too. I'm not going to say any more about that, but I did see it in just one single outing in a suppression hearing. That judge could have ended that mess right there. Right there. He didn't do it. Didn't have the cojones. That's my opinion. That's my opinion. But we're seeing it. We're seeing it everywhere. And we're calling them out. Just like we did in Waco. And as we discussed in the last show, Mel, that was one big giant fail. At the same time, we want to move on from that to today, what's happening today, which are the ramifications of everything we saw in Waco and what is continuing to happen because of it, because they used that as an example, even though it was a big fail. And I know I repeated what we said last week, Mel, but wow. But it deserves to be mentioned again and again because it's the truth. And that's where we go with everything, is speaking truth to the facts. Not no wild-eyed stuff. Just simple truth. And that's what will propel us to some wins. Go ahead.
Now we coined a term. It was near the end of last year and going into this year, and we kept referring to pushback. We say that on occasion, but we need to say it more and more and more because that's the mentality we need to be getting into. Push back. Don't push back in a way that's antagonistic. We need to push back in a way that they know that we're just not going to take the bullshit anymore.
Right. We will gather the information. We will speak truth, and we will state our case. Not only to the public, but to those that are in power, have the abilities to do something about it. And so that's the road we take. And, something's got to give with this motorcycle profiling. It's out of control. And people, like we've said, are making it into that database that don't belong in it. And Mel, I'm thinking here toward the weekend, we will post a survey. We're going to ask everybody to take it. We're going to ask everybody to check and see if they're in a gang database and participate in this survey that will ask you to contact the DPS or the government entity that we have and ask them if you're in a gang database. And then take that survey and it'll give you choices on the response you got from them or the response you didn't get from them. We need to know that too. And so we're going to be working toward that this weekend. It will be posted by Saturday or Sunday. Be looking for it on the front page of TexasBikerRadio.org, where you will also find a link where you can check to see if you're in a gang database in Texas. It's important that you take these actions. It's important that you participate. It's important to you that you should know whether you're in one of these gang databases or not, because you can make it into a gang database and not even know it. And that's the facts, right, Mel? You don't have to.
Absolutely.
You don't have to be at 1%. Go ahead.
There's another thing that we need to check out. I had an individual come up to me at the United Clubs meeting and ask me if we had ever heard of a statement being made by Governor Abbott during a press conference that he was going to do away with motorcycle clubs. I told him I hadn't heard anything like that, but because of his stance on, jumping up and down with DPS and telling them they needed to get as many names in the criminal gang database as possible, I certainly would not deem it impossible if that had been said. So we need to do some research if we can and find out if indeed that statement was ever made by him.
We need to certainly find out if he said that. Now, we do have it on good authority that he said get anybody that even looks like a gang member into my database. Now, I was sitting outside a Walmart in Lubbock. And there's a lot of people walking in and out of that Walmart that I mean, people with, the motorcycle T-shirt, all kinds of T-shirts on, tattoos, stuff in their ears. I mean, how do you choose, Mel? Even people that might be wearing a bandana on their head. I mean, come on. What does a gang member look like nowadays? And I'm sure there are some clothing, some items that they might wear that the general public might think, well, hell, that's kind of cool. I'm going to wear it too. So, what do? When you have a governor that says, put anybody into the system that looks like a gang member. Well, who are the easiest targets?
Yep. Let's pump it up.
Yeah. Who are the easiest targets? A motorcycle running down the road with a patch on. Or say a motorcycle sitting by itself with a sticker on it. How about a car with a sticker on it? all they got to do is walk to the back of your vehicle, whether it be a motorcycle, a car, or whatever, and run your license plate. And you know, if they want to, they can put you into a gang database right there. There's nobody to stop them. Nobody. You know, we're hard pressed trying to figure out how one of our members got into it. Although we do go to events where 1% clubs may be there. But we can't operate as a political organization, as a news organization without going. You've got to know what you're talking about. But we've sure been to those places enough where we've seen the actions and reactions of law enforcement and the behavior. I mean, Mel, the general public wouldn't put up with the mess we have going on with bikers right now, especially being hauled to jail for traffic violations. Just would not put up with it. Everybody would be down the damn Capitol building raising hell. And we'll certainly be doing that the next legislative session with evidence. With evidence. So, well, and then let's take Parker County for a minute. Now, it was quiet out there. I specifically wanted to know what happened in Parker County this weekend. Whether it was quiet, whether the profiling was continuing, whether the being taken to jail was continuing, and Mel, maybe because the tactics of that one police officer that told the Mr. Kelsey that he was fixing to take him to jail from a Chevron station because of what he was wearing. Now Papa said, well, he just lacked tact. Maybe that had something to do with it. But can you imagine what it's going to be like when we do our rallies, and everybody, we're having a rally September 21st in front of the Tarrant County Courthouse at 11:30 a.m. We're gathering there. We're going to rally there. And then we're going to take a 40-minute ride out to Parker County. This is going to be interesting as hell. Be prepared. Be prepared to get video. We say ride, record, report. Be prepared to get video just in case Popeye Fowler decides he doesn't want us there. He don't want us. He doesn't want us exercising our constitutional right to seek redress from government. Let him try it. Let the county commissioners try it. I believe in Tarrant County, it's going to be similar to like McLennan County. Because the sheriff there, I know, believes in the Constitution. Bill Wayburn. He believes in it. I'm not too sure, OG, about Popeye Fowler.
Sure doesn't sound like it.
Just my opinion. just off the behavior of his deputies. Not that the Tarrant County deputies are any better, but it's been the Fort Worth gang unit in Fort Worth that's been the culprits.
Well, that kind of behavior comes from the top.
That's true. That's true. But sometimes these sheriffs, when they're elected, they're inheriting a mess. Just saying. Just saying. Not a police department where the mess is created by the city manager, like they have going on in Dallas. But it's interesting. It's interesting. Hey, Mel, listen at this. You're going to find this interesting as heck. Now, we're going to have a rally also, another rally in Milam County. That's right. You're going to get your chance to participate in Milam County again. And the reason we're going back there is because we feel it's so important for a biker who happens to be a 24-year Army veteran, combat veteran, a Purple Heart, 2 Bronze Stars. The list runs on and on of accolades we could give him. But he wants to do this as a biker. He wants to go to trial because he's not a criminal. He is a member of a motorcycle club. He is a member of a 1% club. He is a bandito. But he wants to do this, win this, for all bikers. For all bikers. And so we're going to do another rally, Milam County, October 5th. Now this is 3 weeks before his trial. And Mel, I find it interesting. Listen at this. Are you ready for this?
Go for it.
Milam County. Now I was impressed by that courthouse when I walked into it. There was no electronic gadgets. There was nothing. Just a open courthouse and open courtrooms. You weren't walking through any metal detectors or anything, but guess what, Mel? Judge Steve Young says, hey, we're getting a metal detector. We got to improve security at the courthouse because of shootings around the state. And Mel, we got, and if you check back when the last time somebody was shot in the Milam County courthouse, oh man, this is choice. Are you ready? The last time there was a shooting in the Milam County courthouse, it was ex-Sheriff Giles C. Everett, if I got his name right, I hope I do. He was shot and killed instantly by Sheriff Todd, who was charged with the crime. So and wait a minute, it gets better, Mel. The date of that shooting, 1905.
Yeah.
Now, we've talked about Cameron being a sleepy little town, and I like Cameron. I think the little town is just cool as heck. And especially just Rosebud, just 10 miles up the road. But, wow. And now I hope this is not some kind of thing to try and influence a jury. I really do. Because we've seen it before. We saw it in Tarrant County. where they put up a fence around the building. And we saw it in Milam County where they put up a 3-foot fence to keep the circus clowns out. Just saying. Just saying. There's no room for trying to influence a jury to the point that they think they're going to be attacked by somebody. And I can promise everybody out there right now, everybody that may serve on a jury, that you're not going to be attacked by a biker, by a motorcycle club, by anybody that has to do with 2 wheels. And Mel, I can't think of a time that that's happened. Can you?
Well, I can't wait to see what kind of security they might set up.
Oh my goodness. You know, and if that happens, we're certainly going to call them out on it. Because we've seen it before. And they've done it once that I know of, successfully. And there's just no room for that. Just no room for it. I think I've been ranting for 35 minutes. I don't know. I know I jump from one thing to the other because I get excited about it, Mel. And we want everybody else to get that way too. We want you to be bold. We want you to help for what's right. Whether you be a club member or whether you be an independent. Know that this stuff is coming toward you. And we point out almost each and every time, if the government gets their way and is able to take your patch, and thank the Lord that we had a judge that actually read the Constitution and said, you know, you cannot take their patches. You cannot take their trademarks. It's their right. It's their right, their First Amendment right to have these items, to have these patches. So anybody that doesn't like it, you know, go smoke sand. And Mel, yeah, I mean, is anybody going away over this, do you think, Mel?
Well, it's a good question.
Yeah.
It's a good question. You know, I never bet on the side of good anymore.
Yeah.
Only because of what we've seen and what continues to be repeating itself.
Mm-hmm.
But your guess is as good as mine.
Yeah. You know, I mean, with all these profilings, with taking people to jail and stuff, they're not hurting the club. They're hurting that individual's family. Because they're taking money away from the family budget. And regardless of what they try to sell to the public, they were just a bunch of thugs running around doing these various crimes. You know, that's not the truth of it. The truth of it is we have jobs, we have families, we have mortgages. That's the truth of it. And when these police officers take somebody to jail, impounds their bikes, they're taking money from the family, not from the club.
Over a simple traffic stop.
Exactly. Exactly. And when you put somebody into a gang database, You're hurting them. You're hurting them, especially if they've never committed any crimes. They haven't been allowed to their day in court. Because once you're into that database, you're considered a criminal right there, a potential criminal right there. And getting out of it is hell. But we're going to try and make hay about it every time we find somebody that doesn't belong there. And I'm talking about even if you're a club member and you've never been in trouble with the law outside of a traffic ticket or some other bullshit. I'm not talking about just because you're in a motorcycle club, even if you're in a 1% club. So I mean that's where we're at, Mel. We're in a
Well,
battle
I
big
mean,
time.
what you said is key. If you end up in the criminal database and you've never committed a crime, you are automatically considered a criminal at that point, because if you get stopped and you've got a concealed carry permit and your name is in that database, even though you've never committed a crime, that officer will confiscate your weapon, you'll be arrested, and you will forfeit your concealed carry permit on the spot.
You know, Mel, and I want to say that doesn't happen 100% of the time. There are times that the officers, you know, they recognize. There are some decent officers out there, but then there are the ones. They're the other ones that will take that information and use it to the hilt. And we just want them to know you're not hurting the club when you do that silly mess. You're hurting an individual that may have never committed a crime in his life, who just likes the brotherhood, likes the camaraderie, likes riding. That's it. Period. Well, Mel, I think we've used our allotted time.
Well,
Any
okay.
final thoughts? Any final thoughts?
No, other than everyone needs to keep in mind, this isn't just happening to other people, other riders. Don't think that because you're not in a club or not in that club or you don't wear a cut, that eventually they won't be coming for you.
Right.
Because if you look back in history, when different classes of people were gone after by government, they eventually got to everybody.
Yep. And you know,
And we've been saying this for some time now, and now it's getting worse. Now veterans are being stopped and harassed. So just be aware, you're next.
That's true. And just, you know, when government becomes the oppressor, you're no longer free. Period. With that, everybody, have a great evening. Ride safe.
Good night.
Good night.